what you're looking at, and what we're around, none of this was here in 1609. This building, actually, there was the fort, the first fort that the Dutch built was actually on this location of the customs house. I am volunteering to doing this because I'm very grateful to the Dutch people in that, number one, I am Jewish, and we will get to where freedom of religion comes from, and it's more the Dutch than the Puritans, let me tell you. I am also gay, and the Netherlands has been a forefront in human rights for the gay population. Does anyone realize why the official maps in New York City have tax lots that are 25 feet in the front but go back 100 feet? You're taxed on frontage. Why and where did it come from that people thought of having a little narrow frontage but a long deep thing? Amsterdam, it comes from the canals. In Amsterdam in the 1700s and probably now still, I don't know, you were taxed on how much frontage you had on your canal. So the people would make a long house, but a narrow house. New York City's pattern came from the Dutch, from Nieuw Amsterdam. So the streets were narrow, the tax lots were narrow. When they invented the elevator and the steel buildings and things started going straight up, and then wrapping around to Pearl Street, which is 1 block south of the tall building behind the customs house, that was water. So Nieuw Amsterdam, basically where we're standing now, is pretty much the boundary line of Nieuw Amsterdam. This again, this flagpole is in commemoration of the decree establishing Fort Amsterdam in 1625. Downtown central of Nieuw Amsterdam. The area, again, this is where it started. That was the water. And it only went up as far as Wall Street. Wall Street was actually constructed not by the slaves. And that's another thing. Nieuw Amsterdam, just as Virginia and the other colonies in the United States, a lot of times if they were going to be building the streets and the building, they didn't want to get their nails broken either, so they imported African slaves from Africa to come and build. But Wall Street was not. Peter Stuyvesant wanted every Dutch citizen to do his, mostly probably his, the women probably were not involved, in building that Wall Street to keep the Native American Indians out, and animals, I guess, too. And the marauding British people, too. But the wall wasn't built very well. If they had the slaves build it, it probably would have been a good, solid stone wall. But it was the kind of thing that people went for an hour or two on Saturday, took a piece of wood and said, I did my job, and that's it. So Wall Street was never really such a very big wall. But what happened is if he got kicked out for being Jewish from Spain and Portugal and he went to Brazil, he said, oh great, I got freedom now and I'm with Dutch people. Dutch people are nice people. They don't like killing us Jews. But then all of a sudden, what happens is these wars keep on changing every year. And you wake up in the morning and it's like, uh-oh, we're now back that the Portuguese are coming over. So a group of Jews, I think 23, got onto a ship and they decided to leave the island of Recife, which is at the corner tip of Brazil, and they wanted to go to someplace Dutch. So they first go to the Caribbean, but when they go to Jamaica, they get robbed by pirates who steal all their paperwork and all their money. So now they really don't think they're going to be able to make it back to Holland, so they try to go to the next closest Dutch thing, which was Nieuw Amsterdam. Now they arrived here in September of 1654. And that's the one everyone knows about, when Peter Stuyvesant was rather nasty and said, excuse me, we don't particularly want you Jewish people here, and wrote a very nasty letter about how these Jews, they don't believe in Jesus, and we don't really want them here. And there was this whole big thing of, are the Jews going to be thrown out because Peter Stuyvesant is so anti-Semitic? Well, anti-Semitic he was, but anti-poor he was even more. Because what I didn't know, and I only learned this because of doing these tours when I start doing the research, in August, the month before, the pear tree ship as compared to the St. Catherine ship docked in New Amsterdam, and affluent Ashkenazi Dutch Jews came from Holland to New Amsterdam, and Peter Stuyvesant did not complain. They had money, they had paperwork, they fit in. But what happened the next year is that the residents, the settlers of New Amsterdam, had no problem with the Jews. It was Peter Stuyvesant. But what Peter Stuyvesant didn't realize is that this was not a colony made for the king, or made for God, or made for religion. It was made to make money. And there were board of directors of the Dutch West Indies Corporation who happened to be Jewish. So, when Peter Stuyvesant writes this little letter saying, hey, I want to get rid of these Jews, they nicely wrote back a letter, you want to stay being governor, you ain't going to kick these people out as long as they sort of take care of themselves. And a lot of the Dutch settlers were also very helpful and they followed the Bible that says 36 times you should be nice to strangers and remember what it was like when you were in Egypt. Be nice to people. So Peter Stuyvesant had to sort of back off. And again, it's where the native population of the New World, of New Amsterdam, were petitioning to have that every resident in this area should have the freedom of religion, and that if people came here who were Quaker or who were Jewish, that they were able to become part of the New Amsterdam society. So again, when I went to school, they always taught me about Plymouth Rock and the Mayflower and how the Puritans helped and left Europe for religious freedom, and that America should look towards the Magna Carta and should look towards the Pilgrims for religious freedom. It's a bubbalamasa. It's a little story that they used to tell. It isn't the truth. It's more the Dutch settlers that we have to thank for the religious freedom as compared to the British.